Welcome to another explainer. I am absolutely pumped for today's deep dive because honestly, we're tackling something that's going to fundamentally shift how you look at the world. We are unpacking the psychological frameworks of the ultra-wealthy, pulling directly from some truly brilliant insights shared by entrepreneur and creator Ankur Voraku. Now listen, we aren't going to sit here and talk about basic math or simple accounting today. No, we're going to explore the actual real-world mental models that literally separate the millionaires from the billionaires. So let's just dive right in.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by moving beyond ordinary personal finance. Then we'll get into thinking like a chess player, finding asymmetric risk rewards, developing anti-fragility, unlocking the compound interest of boring, and we'll wrap it all up by mastering our emotions around money.
All right, part one, beyond ordinary personal finance. So there is a massive, massive difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. And Ankur Voraku actually had a front row seat to watch two billionaires build their wealth from the absolute ground up. And he noticed something kind of fascinating. He asked, with all the free financial advice available today, why do so few people actually master their money? Seriously, think about it for a second. If you just want to know how to budget using the 50-30-20 rule or, which mutual fund to pick or how to start an SIP, you can Google that in 2 seconds for completely free. And yet so few people actually reach true financial freedom. Why is that? Well, the answer lies in a really crucial distinction. Standard advice gives you the mechanics, your SIPs and your basic budgeting rules. But the real secret? It's the mental framework. You see, the mechanical concepts are free. They're everywhere. Anyone can learn them. But the true differentiator, the reason the ultra-wealthy pull so incredibly far ahead, is because they adopt a completely different mindset. It's not about the mechanics at all. It is entirely about the psychology.
Moving right along to section 2, thinking like a chess player. When a grandmaster chess player makes a move, they aren't just staring at that single piece. They are calculating the second, third, fourth, and fifth order consequences of that one move over the next several years of the game. And the wealthy? They played this exact same game with their financial decisions. Let's take a look at a seemingly simple, everyday first-order decision, getting a home loan. Step 1, you buy a house. Great. Now let's look at the next order consequences. Step 2, you suddenly desperately need a fixed salary to pay that massive monthly EMI. Which leads to step 3, you become totally trapped in your current corporate job because you simply cannot afford any disruption in your income. And finally, step 4, your risk appetite drops to absolute zero for the next 15 to 20 years. You can't quit to start a business, you can't take a wild chance on a side gig. A simple home loan, which you might easily afford right now, completely strangles your ability to take wealth-building risks for decades. Now that is next-order thinking.
Which brings us to section 3. Finding asymmetric risk rewards.
So traditional personal finance generally teaches us a very simple linear rule, right? If you want higher returns, you have to take on higher risk. You take lower risk, you get lower returns. Simple. But the ultra-wealthy absolutely do not look for linear relationships. They are out hunting for asymmetry. An asymmetric risk reward is basically a scenario where your potential for exponential upside vastly outweighs your strictly capped potential for downside. Voraku notes something pretty incredible about the billionaires he watched. They came from humble backgrounds, sure, but they realized early on that their parents' hard work meant their basic survival was guaranteed. They were never going to die of starvation. Because their absolute worst-case scenario was just, normal middle-class survival. Their downside was capped. And this allowed them to play the casino game of life for massive exponential gains without that paralyzing fear of losing everything. Let's compare a standard corporate job to entrepreneurship. In a corporate career, you take a little bit of risk by maybe changing departments or moving to a new city, and your reward is a linear, totally predictable salary increment or bonus. It's just a straight line. But with entrepreneurship or a serious side gig, the risk is definitely higher for sure, but if it pays off, the reward is exponential and essentially limitless. The wealthy understand this curve perfectly. They aren't optimizing to just hold on to their car or their societal status. They are optimizing to see how incredibly high they can climb. Okay, section 4, anti-fragility, growing from chaos. Now, this concept was coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb in his brilliant book, Anti-Fragile. We all know fragile things break under stress, but anti-fragile things? They don't just survive the chaos. They actually grow stronger because of it. When a market crashes or a massive obstacle pops up, the wealthy don't complain or crumble into a million pieces. Instead, they ask, okay, what is this teaching me? How can I use this to fortify my position? They literally view chaos as a training ground.
To make this super concrete, let's look at Anker's own journey highlighted in the source material. He spent a grueling 10 years as a startup founder, facing crazy obstacles every single day. And while that decade might not have immediately made him a billionaire financially, it made him mentally unbreakable. He developed a mindset where external shocks just simply don't faze him anymore. That mental fortitude, that anti-fragility, is an absolute prerequisite for handling massive wealth. You have to be able to take a huge hit and use the energy of that hit to stand up even taller.
All right, moving into section 5, the compound interest of boring.
So we all know compound interest applies to money, but the wealthy apply it relentlessly to the accumulation of skills, knowledge, and daily habits. Look, when you start something new, a new job, a new investment, a new fitness routine, it is highly exciting. But human nature guarantees that excitement is going to quickly turn to boredom. And at that exact moment of boredom, 99% of people will just quit and go looking for the next shiny, exciting thing. But the 1%, the ultra-wealthy, they actively embrace the boring. They know that compounding only ever happens when you stick with the repetitive, unglamorous work way after everyone else has thrown in the towel.
Here's a perfect example from the source, creating content during the 2020 lockdowns. Remember that? Everyone and their mother started a channel because it was the exciting new thing to do. But Anker knew that it only mattered who was still posting when that initial excitement totally faded. He and his team committed to the exact same mind-numbingly boring tasks: shooting, editing, doing the same audio checks, making thumbnails, over 2,000 times across 5 years, rain or shine. And the result? 15 million. That is 1.5 crore followers. That massive exponential payoff didn't come from chasing excitement. No way. It came directly from the compound interest of boring. Just doing the same effective thing every single day, long past the point of boredom, is literally the ultimate wealth-building hack.
And finally, section 6, mastering emotions around money.
You know, we all love to think of ourselves as highly logical creatures, especially when it comes to our finances. But the reality is that our spending and our investing are heavily driven by desire, ego, and just fleeting emotions. We buy things to show off, not because we actually need them. And the financial world, it is incredibly chaotic on a daily basis. One day, a Tesla gets into an accident and the stock crashes. A week later, Zomato launches a new feature and the price spikes. Next month, Paytm gets a regulatory notice and drops. If you operate on this tiny timeline, you are living in a permanent state of reactive panic. You let your emotions dictate buying high out of pure excitement and selling low out of sheer fear. Let me tell you, the wealthy absolutely do not operate like this. Think of it like being a college student. Some days in class are amazing, some days are incredibly boring, and some days you feel like you are totally failing. But if that student dropped out just because of one bad Tuesday, they would completely miss the incredible transformational growth of finishing that 4-year degree. The daily emotional swings don't matter at all. What matters is the long-term curriculum. The wealthy know how to zoom out. They trust the long-term upward trajectory of their strategic investments, and they completely ignore the daily noise. So I want to leave you with this final, really important thought. Take a hard look at your own decisions. Are you making emotional, daily reactions to the noise around you, or are you zooming out, thinking multiple moves ahead, embracing the boring, and playing the strategic, long-term game of wealth? True wealth isn't just about the money sitting in your bank account. It is about taking control of your mind so you can be wealthy, extremely happy, and fully in control. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope these mental models change how you view your future.